He wasn't sure why he came back. Maybe it was the silence. Maybe it was the weight he had carried for too many years. Or maybe the road had finally run out of places for him to hide. Sam Carter wasn't a man who believed in second chances. Men like him didn't get them. They carried their scars the way they carried their engines, loud, heavy, and always pushing forward. But tonight, as he cut through the desert highway under a moon shaped like a broken coin, Sam felt something different. The kind of pull a rider can't ignore. The kind that drags you straight to the place where everything first went wrong. The old bar stood exactly as he remembered, leaning into the wind, neon sign flickering like a dying heartbeat. The gravel outside scattered with memories he wished he'd never made. He killed the engine and sat still, listening to its ticking fade into the night. This was where the Brotherhood had been forged. This was where his loyalty had cracked. And this was where, years ago, someone close had taken a knife to the code they all swore to protect. As Sam pushed open the door, the stale smell of smoke and spilled liquor hit him like a wave of ghosts. Every corner carried a story, every bar stool a regret. But there was one regret louder than all the others. The night a brother chose betrayal over blood. Sam had spent years wondering who it had been, years believing he could outrun the truth. But some truths hitch a ride whether you want them to or not. He walked deeper into the dim light, boots echoing against the floor. Faces turned, conversations quieted. The past, it seemed, had been waiting for him. And in the darkest corner of the bar sat the brother who broke the code. Some stories don't begin on the night something changes. They begin years earlier, in the quiet mistakes no one notices at the time. This is one of those stories, a story about loyalty, silence, pride, and the cost of pretending the past can be left behind on an empty stretch of highway. If you've ever lost a friend, a brother, or a piece of yourself on the road, you'll feel this one in your chest. Because Sam Carter didn't just return to a bar. He returned to the moment where his life split clean in two. Before we step into that night, I want you to breathe for a second. Let whatever noise is around you fall away. Picture the glow of spare neon on worn wood, the low hum of conversations that stop when a man walks in, carrying ghosts on his shoulders. The feeling of knowing someone inside that room is linked to the worst chapter of your life. That's where this story takes place, not in the open desert, but in the tight corners where truth hides. If you're new here, welcome to Brotherhood Roads, a place where stories aren't dressed up, softened, or rushed. We tell them the way men remember them, raw, quiet, and honest. If you ride, or if you've ever loved someone who did, you'll recognize the weight of these roads. So if this kind of storytelling hits home, consider subscribing. It keeps this journey alive. Hit the like button too, not for the algorithm, but to let me know you're out there, listening, somewhere on your own highway. These stories grow stronger when the right people gather around them. And before we roll into Chapter 1, drop a comment telling me which city and country you're watching from, not just to map the audience, but because every place has a story, and every rider carries one they never tell out loud. Maybe tonight, this one will remind you of it. Sam Carter had spent years convincing himself that time had smoothed out the sharp edges of his past. But as he stood in front of the faded wooden door of the bar, he realized time had only buried those edges, never dulled them. The neon sign above flickered weakly, the same way it had the night his life changed for good. He pushed the door open, and a wave of warm, stale air washed over him, carrying whispers of a brotherhood he once believed unbreakable. His boots dragged against the familiar floor as he stepped inside, each scuff sounding like a memory he'd tried to forget. He paused just past the threshold, letting his eyes adjust to the dim light. Shadows clung to the corners of the bar, like old secrets. A few patrons glanced up, their conversations faltering for a heartbeat before resuming in lower tones. Sam ignored them. He wasn't here to explain himself, and he wasn't here to be forgiven. He was here because something inside him, guilt, instinct, fate, had pulled him back to the one place he swore he'd never set foot again. His gaze drifted to the far corner, where an empty booth sat beneath a buzzing sign advertising a brand of beer that barely existed anymore. It was the booth where he, Clay, Marcus, and Reese used to sit, laughing louder than the jukebox, making promises they thought were ironclad. Promises about loyalty, but never letting the road divide them. Sam felt a hollow ache settle in his chest as he remembered the night those promises started to unravel, thread by thread. He took a slow step forward, then another. The wooden floorboards creaked under his weight, and the bartender, a grey-bearded man with arms like tree trunks, narrowed his eyes. Sam caught the look and nodded once. Recognition flickered in the man's face, followed by something colder, disappointment. Sam didn't blame him. There were people in this bar who had every reason to hate him, but none had more reason than the one he'd come to face. Sam approached the counter, resting his gloved hands on its worn surface. The bartender didn't bother asking what he wanted. He just poured whiskey into a chipped glass and slid it across. Sam didn't drink it. He stared at it, watching the amber liquid settle like dust in an abandoned house. He knew that glass, knew the grooves in the wood beneath it, knew the exact angle of the mirror behind the counter because he remembered standing there years ago, staring at his own reflection, realizing the brotherhood he loved was fracturing. He finally lifted the glass and took a sip. The burn traveled down his throat, grounding him. He scanned the room one more time, searching for a familiar face. There were none, at least none he expected to see. But the air felt charged, like a storm waiting just outside the door. Someone knew he was here. Someone wanted him here. He turned toward the old booth, drawn to it like a magnet to iron. As he approached, he noticed something he hadn't seen before. A knife mark carved into the tabletop, a single, deliberate slash. He rested his fingers on it, feeling the rough edges. It hadn't been there the last time he sat in that booth. Someone had left it like a signature, or a warning. Sam slid into the seat, the leather sighing under his weight. He kept his hands on the table, palms flat, breathing slowly. This booth held too many ghosts, too many decisions, too many lies. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting the weight of the room press against him. The past wasn't rising gently, it was pulling him under. Then he heard it, a boot step, slow, heavy, purposeful. He opened his eyes and looked up. A figure stood in the entrance of the bar, framed by the dim light from outside. Broad shoulders, weather-beaten jacket. A presence that filled the room without speaking a word. Sam's heart tightened, not in fear, but in recognition. The man stepped inside, closing the door behind him with a soft thud that echoed through the silence. As he walked towards Sam, every patron in the bar seemed to shrink into their seats. Sam didn't move, didn't speak, didn't breathe, because he knew who it was. The brother who broke the code had just walked in. The man approached with a slowness that wasn't hesitation, it was intention. Every step measured, deliberate, as if the weight of his boots echoed the years between them. Sam leaned back in the booth, jaw tight, heart steadying itself like an engine settling into idle. He hadn't seen Reese younger in almost 4 years, not since the night everything collapsed, yet the sight of him felt painfully familiar. Same squared shoulders, same quiet intensity, same eyes that used to hold loyalty like a promise, now sharpened into something colder. Reese stopped at the edge of the booth, hands in the pockets of his worn leather jacket. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The bar held its breath. Even the jukebox hummed quieter, as if leaning in to listen. Sam didn't look away, neither did Reese. 2 men staring across a table, each carrying a version of the same history, but only one knowing the truth. "You came back," Reese said finally, his voice low and steady. It wasn't an accusation, it wasn't forgiveness. It was a fact. A marker dropped onto the timeline between them. Sam nodded once. "Road brought me here." Reese's mouth twitched, not into a smile, but into something between disbelief and mockery. "Road doesn't bring a man where he doesn't want to go." Sam didn't argue. Reese was right. The road might be a guide, but a man chooses when to turn. He waited for Reese to sit, but the man remained standing, dominant, restless, like a wolf locked out of its own den. "Sit," Sam muttered. Reese shook his head. "I don't think that's a good idea." Sam exhaled slowly. "Didn't ask if it was a good idea." Reese finally slid into the seat across from him, the leather creaking under his weight. His movements were precise, cautious, the way a man moves when he doesn't yet know whether he's here to talk or to fight. Sam studied him closely, the wear in his jacket, the fatigue lingering beneath his eyes, the scar at the edge of his jaw that hadn't been there before. "Clay's alive," Reese said abruptly. "If that's why you're here," Sam's eyes narrowed. "Didn't say I came because of Clay," Reese shrugged. "Didn't have to." A long silence settled between them. Sam tapped a finger once against the table. Reese's gaze drifted to the carved slash in the wood, the warning Sam had noticed earlier. "You saw it," Reese murmured. "Hard to miss," Sam replied. "What does it mean?" Reese hesitated, then leaned forward slightly. "It means you shouldn't have come back." Sam felt a heat rise in his chest, not anger, just clarity. "Then you know why I did." Reese's jaw tightened. "You're looking for answers, but you won't like the ones you'll find." Sam's voice stayed calm. "I'm not here to like them." Reese looked away for the first time, glancing toward the bar entrance as if expecting someone else to walk through. When he looked back, his expression had shifted, less guarded, more haunted. "You think Clay told you everything?" Reese said. Sam stiffened. "I didn't say that." Reese tapped the table twice, a gesture Sam knew too well. It meant tension. It meant restraint. It meant something was coming. "He didn't," Reese continued. "There's more to that night, more to what happened after you walked out." Sam's stomach tightened. "Then tell me." Reese leaned back and exhaled slowly, running a hand over his face. "You think you know who broke the code. You think you know what I did. You don't." He paused. "And you're not ready to hear it." Sam stiffened at the edge in Reese's voice. "Try me." Reese stared at him, through him, for several seconds that felt like miles. Then he nodded slightly, as if conceding something to fate. "All right," Reese said. "I'll tell you, but not here." Sam frowned. "Why not?" Reese lowered his voice. "Or because someone's listening." Before Sam could respond, a bottle shattered at the far end of the bar, followed by a muttered apology and a bark of laughter. But Reese didn't flinch. His eyes weren't on the noise. They were fixed on the cracked mirror behind the counter. Sam followed his gaze and saw a man watching them from the reflection. Not drinking, not talking, just listening. Reese's voice dropped to a whisper. "They're not here for me, Sam." He swallowed once. "They're here for you." The man in the mirror wasn't trying to blend in. He was trying not to be seen noticing them. The kind of subtle shift in posture that only someone trained or someone with a job to do would understand. Sam recognized the move instantly. So did Reese. Their eyes met again, not as enemies now, but as two men who both understood when a room had turned against them. "And front door's a trap," Reese murmured. Sam nodded subtly. "Back!" Reese kept his eyes on the mirror. "Kitchen hallway, leads to the alley. But we move slow. We're done." Sam didn't hesitate. He rose from the booth casually, as if heading to the restroom. Reese waited 2 seconds, then followed, keeping distance, playing it natural. But the man at the bar shifted in the mirror, just enough to confirm the suspicion. He set down his drink, his posture straightened. His hand dropped toward his jacket. Sam's voice sharpened under his breath. "Move!" They walked toward the narrow hallway beside the jukebox, and the instant they crossed into shadow, Reese grabbed Sam's arm and pulled him to the side. A muffled click echoed, metal against metal, a gun being drawn. Sam's pulse steadied. Reese's breathing quickened but stayed controlled. "They're fast," Sam whispered. "They're not here to talk," Reese replied. The hallway was tight, with peeling wallpaper and a flickering bulb that painted everything in frantic flashes of light. Sam pushed through the service door into the back of the bar. A cramped kitchen lined with dusty appliances and a back exit barely held together by rusted hinges. Reese scanned the corners with quick, decisive movements. Footsteps pounded behind them. Sam shoved the door open, and cold night air rushed in like salvation. They stepped into the alley, shadows stretching long across cracked pavement. A dumpster blocked part of the path, but Reese jumped over it with the reflex of someone who'd done this before. Sam followed, boots landing hard. They reached the end of the alley, where a chain-link fence stood half-collapsed. Reese kicked through the weak point, metal snapping with a hollow clang. They spilled out behind the building into a gravel lot where the desert wind cut across their faces. Sam finally spoke. "Talk." Reese turned to him, chest rising and falling. "You want answers? Then listen. Those men aren't part of the club. They're not bounty hunters. They're not smugglers. They're here because of what happened the night you left." Sam clenched his jaw. "I know what happened." "No," Reese said sharply. "You know what you saw, not what happened after." Sam took a step closer, the tension between them tightening like wire. "Then start explaining." Reese rubbed his forehead, then pointed toward the bar. "After you walked out, things didn't fall apart because you left. They fell apart because someone took advantage of the chaos you created. Someone started feeding information out of the club. Someone who knew you wouldn't be there to see it." Sam froze. "You're saying the leak started that night?" Reese nodded. "And it didn't stop. Supply routes, member schedules, meeting spots. Someone was selling everything." He swallowed. "Marcus found out. That's why he died." Cold wind whipped across the lot, carrying the weight of the revelation. Sam felt his throat tighten. "Clay said Marcus suspected someone." Reese looked away. "He didn't just suspect someone, he named him." Sam's pulse hammered. "Who?" Reese didn't answer. Instead, he moved toward the back road leading behind the bar. "Not here, too exposed." Sam grabbed his arm. "Tell me." Reese turned slowly, eyes hardening. "You need to be ready for it, Sam." "I am." A long silence stretched between them. Then Reese finally spoke. Marcus believed the leak was someone close enough to know everything, close enough to predict every move, close enough to rip the Brotherhood apart in one night. Sam waited. Reese exhaled sharply. He thought the leak was Clay. The words landed like a punch to the chest. Sam staggered back a half step, disbelief flooding his face. Clay. Sam stood frozen, the desert wind biting his face. Clay. The name echoed in his skull like a gunshot in an empty room. Clay, who had found him. Clay, who had asked him to ride again. Clay, who had held him like a brother when Sam's world fell apart years ago. The same man who now wanted him dead. Sam's hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of realizing he'd been a fool. He'd trusted a ghost. And ghosts don't forgive. Reese took a step toward him. "And the men in that bar, they work for whoever Clay was dealing with. That's why they came for you." Sam's voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "Why me?" Reese's expression darkened. "Because Clay told them you were the only loose end he couldn't control." Sam felt the world tilt, not physically, but in the way a truth can knock a man off balance without ever touching him. Clay. The leak. The thought scraped through him like gravel under tires. Clay was the one who had found him, the one who had asked him to ride again, the one who claimed Marcus had died because of someone inside. Sam's breath chilled in his throat. Had Clay been setting him up from the moment he returned? Reese watched the shock ripple across Sam's face, not with satisfaction, not with blame, with something closer to exhaustion. "You think I wanted to believe it," Reese said quietly. "Took me months just to consider the possibility, but the trail kept circling back to him, every route compromised, every deal that went sideways, every ambush that felt too perfect. Someone was feeding information so clean, it had to be a rider who knew our patterns." Sam clenched his fists. "Clay wouldn't..." Reese cut him off. "Clay didn't betray us for money. He did it to save the club, or at least, that's what he told himself." Reese's voice hardened. "After you left, things got bad? Real bad? Suppliers cutting ties, rivals moving in, brothers leaving one by one. Clay made a deal with the smugglers, protection in exchange for routes. He thought he was buying time, but time has a way of turning men into monsters." Sam opened his mouth, but no words formed. He had left because Clay had changed, because fights weren't just fights anymore. They were wars Clay chose without warning, because Marcus had warned them that the club was splitting into two shadows, what it was, and what Clay was turning it into. Sam had walked away when it became too much, but now he wondered if he had walked away just early enough to miss the darkest parts. The wind howled across the gravel lot, loose dust swirling around their boots. Reese stepped closer, lowering his voice. "The men in the bar weren't after me. They were never after me. Clay told them you'd come back eventually, told them you'd need handling when you did." Sam felt heat rise in his chest. Anger, confusion, betrayal blending into something sharp. "Oh, Clay told me to come back," he muttered. "He wanted me here." Reese shook his head. "He wanted you isolated, off balance. He wanted you where he could keep an eye on you, through people who answer to someone else." Sam paced a few steps, running a hand through his hair, his boots grinding into the gravel. "Clay said Marcus died because someone inside betrayed him." Reese's eyes hardened. "That part's true." He paused, "but the betrayal came from the top." Sam's stomach twisted. Memories returned like broken glass. Clay's anger that night years ago, the sudden shift in leadership, the secrets Clay started keeping even from his closest brothers. Sam had assumed Clay was protecting the club from outside threats. He never imagined Clay might be protecting himself. Reese continued. "Marcus found something, a payment, a route Clay approved that shouldn't have existed. He followed it. He confronted someone higher up, and that's when Clay stopped returning his calls. Hours later, Marcus was dead." The night pressed in tighter, suffocating. Sam felt a weight settle on his shoulders so heavy it stole his breath. "Why would Clay tell me to come back if he thought I'd figure this out?" Reese's voice dropped. "Because you're the only one he can't control, and the only one people would believe if you spoke up." He met Sam's eyes. "You were always the roadblock, Sam. Even when you left," Sam swallowed hard. "You're telling me Clay is the man who broke the code?" Reese nodded once, slowly. "Marcus died for trying to expose him. If you stay here, you will too." Before Sam could respond, headlights swept across the lot, bright, blinding, cutting through the darkness like a blade. A truck accelerated toward them, engine snarling. Reese grabbed Sam's arm. "They found us." Sam's instincts took over. He sprinted toward the side of the lot, Reese right behind him. The truck swerved, tires spitting gravel. Sam reached the shadow of an abandoned shed just as the truck screeched to a stop. Doors flew open. Figures poured out. 3, 4, maybe more. Silhouettes armed and moving fast. Reese pulled a small knife from his boot. "There's a bike behind the shed," he muttered. "Old, but it runs. We take it and get out." Sam narrowed his eyes. "And go where?" Reese's answer was immediate. "To the only place Clay can't hide." Sam hesitated. "And where's that?" Reese looked at him with a chilling certainty. His sanctuary, his safe house. A beat of silence, a shift in the air, the sound of footsteps closing in. Reese stepped closer, whispering, "The place where Marcus died." The night split open with shouts. 4 men, maybe 5, fanned out across the gravel lot, cutting off the main road. Sam counted 3 on foot, 2 still mounted on bikes. The closest rider revved his engine, blocking the alley exit. They were boxed in. Reese grabbed Sam's wrist and yanked him toward the back of the shed, breath sharp, jaw clenched. Sam didn't argue. He followed, lungs burning with cold air and adrenaline. Behind the shed sat an old bike, midnight blue, rusted along the tank, seat cracked from years under desert sun. It looked barely alive, but Reese jumped onto it with a familiarity that told Sam he'd stashed it there long before tonight. "Get on," Reese ordered. "We don't have time." Sam swung a leg over the seat just as a bullet tore through the corner of the shed, splintering wood beside his shoulder. Another shot ricocheted off the metal siding. The men had reached the back of the lot, their shadows stretched long under the headlights, turning them into distorted figures of violence. Sam gripped Reese's jacket tight. Reese revved the engine. Nothing. He tried again, choked, coughed, sputter. A third time, silent. "Reese," Sam hissed. Reese ignored him, jaw tightening. "Come on, come on!" A fourth try. The engine roared to life like a beast waking from the grave. Reese didn't wait for the men to close in. He ripped the bike forward, gravel exploding under the tires. Sam held tight as they shot toward the empty service road behind the lot. A shout rose behind them, followed by the violent growl of another engine starting up. Sam looked back. It wasn't a truck this time. It was a motorcycle. Fast, well-maintained. Meaning whoever rode it wasn't some hired thug. He was trained. He was dangerous. He was coming. Reese leaned low, the bike rattling under the strain of speed it wasn't built for. The service road stretched ahead, narrow, cracked, bordered by low brush and scattered rock. The pursuing rider closed the distance, engine snarling like a predator in full sprint. Sam looked for anything, a weapon, a rock, a broken bottle, but the bike carried nothing but rust and desperation. "He's gaining," Sam called over the wind. "I see him," Reese growled. The desert wind cut across their faces as they tore down the narrow road, the moon hanging above like a pale witness. The pursuing rider closed to within 20 yards. 15, 10. Sam could see the silhouette now. Helmet, leather, one hand steady on the throttle, the other reaching toward his jacket. Sam's stomach tightened. "He's gonna catch up," Sam warned. Reese didn't answer. Instead, he jerked the bike hard to the left, sending them skidding down a slope of loose dirt and scattered rock. Sam gritted his teeth as the bike fishtailed wildly, then stabilized. The move cost the pursuer a few seconds, but not enough. The rider corrected his line, descending after them with expert control. Sam leaned closer to Reese. "Where are we going?" Reese's voice was tight, breathless. "The canyon road." Sam stiffened. That's a dead end." "Exactly," Reese said. The desperation in Reese's voice sent a thrill of confusion through Sam. Was this a trap? Was this another lie? But the look Reese had given him back at the bar, fear, guilt, urgency, wasn't something a man could fake. Sam had been around enough liars to know the difference. They reached the bottom of the slope and bounced onto a cracked service lane. The canyon loomed ahead, tall rock walls like jagged teeth swallowing the moonlight. Sam felt his heartbeat quicken. The canyon road was a narrow stretch that ended in a sheer drop, a place locals called the Throat. If Reese missed even one angle, they'd go over. Behind them, the rider accelerated. Reese shouted over the wind. "When we reach the bend, jump!" Sam blinked. "I'm going to jump off the bike." "Yes." "Reese, are you out of your—" Reese snapped. "Do you trust me or not?" The question slammed into Sam harder than the wind. Years of brotherhood, fractures, loyalties and betrayals, all condensed into one impossible moment. And yet, the answer came faster than Sam expected. "Yes!" Reese tightened his grip on the handlebars. "Good, then be ready." They rocketed into the canyon, the sound of engines echoing off the stone walls. The pursuing rider was right on them now, close enough that Sam could hear his breath between roars of the motor. Reese leaned the bike into the first bend, tires screaming across the asphalt. The canyon narrowed. Another bend approached. Sharper, deadlier. Reese yelled, "Now!" Sam jumped. His body hit the ground hard, rolling across dust and gravel. Pain shot through his ribs, shoulders, spine. He heard metal scraping behind him and the violent crash of the bike colliding against stone. A second crash followed, heavier, sharper, as the pursuing rider hit the canyon wall. Dust clouded the air. Sam coughed, vision blurred. He forced himself to sit up, every muscle protesting. Reese was on one knee nearby, clutching his side, blood trickling from his arm. But he was alive. The other rider wasn't moving. Sam staggered to his feet and limped toward Reese. "You had one shot to kill us both," he rasped. Reese wiped blood from his lip. "Sam, if I wanted you dead, I wouldn't have jumped." Sam helped him stand. The canyon was silent, except for their ragged breathing. Reese looked Sam dead in the eyes. "Clay wanted you out of the picture. Now you know why." The canyon wind carried a cold bite, the kind that cut through leather and bone. Sam steadied Reese with one arm while scanning the ridgeline above them. The twisted wreckage of the bike smoldered in the shadows, metal groaning as it cooled. The man who had chased them lay motionless near the canyon wall, his helmet cracked open like a warning. Sam didn't need to check for a pulse. The silence said enough. Reese winced, pressing a hand to his ribs. "We don't have long," he murmured. "Clay doesn't wait for news. He plans for it." Sam tightened his jaw. Clay, the man he once rode beside like a brother. The man who had convinced him to return. The man who had held him like a brother when Sam's world fell apart years ago. The same man who now wanted him dead. "Then let's finish this," Sam said. Reese met his eyes. For the first time since Sam had walked into the bar, Reese looked unsure, vulnerable. "You need to hear everything before we go after him." Sam nodded once. Reese leaned back against the canyon wall, breath uneven. "Marcus didn't die in an ambush," Reese said softly. "He was set up, sent alone on purpose." Sam's stomach tightened. "By Clay." Reese nodded. "Marcus found documents, ledger entries Clay couldn't explain. Shipments routed through spots we never used, deals Clay made in secret. Marcus confronted him. Clay denied it. But Marcus wasn't the type to let something go when it smelled wrong. He kept digging. "And that got him killed," Sam said bitterly. Reese shook his head. "Not directly. Marcus was planning to bring the proof to the rest of us. He just needed one more night to get everything lined up. That's when Clay struck a deal with the smugglers. They took Marcus out before he could talk." Reese hesitated. "Clay told them you'd be trouble if you ever came back." Sam felt the truth turn inside him like a knife. "So Clay used me as the scapegoat." Reese looked down. "He told everyone you leaving was the crack that broke the club. Said you abandoned us. Said Marcus died cleaning up your mess." Sam's throat tightened. Rage burned through him. Not the frantic kind, but a deep, controlled flame. The kind a man carries for years without noticing. "Why tell me now?" Sam asked. Reese looked up, eyes raw. "Because Marcus trusted you, even after you left. You were the only one he believed could stand against Clay if everything ever went wrong." He swallowed. "And now everything has." Sam stepped back, letting the weight of the revelation settle. The night air felt thicker, the canyon walls closer. Clay's betrayal wasn't just a fracture in their brotherhood, it was a rot that had grown until it swallowed everything alive. Sam stared into the dark road ahead. "We take this to Clay," he said. Reese shook his head. "Clay won't listen. He'll kill you the moment he sees you." Sam's jaw tightened. "Then he'll have to try." Reese pushed himself off the wall, groaning as he stood. "There's something else," he said. "Marcus left a message for you." Sam froze. "What message?" Reese reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, weathered patch, the original Brotherhood emblem, edges torn, threads frayed. Marcus's patch, the one he'd worn since the beginning. Reese placed it in Sam's palm. He said, "The one who leaves isn't always the one who breaks the code. Sometimes he's the only one who remembers it." Sam stared at the patch in his palm. The threads were worn, the colors faded, but Marcus's scent still clung to the fabric. Leather, oil, desert dust. Sam's throat tightened. His vision blurred. He hadn't cried since the funeral, hadn't let himself, but standing there, holding the last piece of a brother who'd believed in him when no one else did, the weight finally cracked through. One tear fell, then another. Sam wiped them fast, jaw clenched, but Reese had seen, and Reese didn't look away. He just nodded, because some pain doesn't need words. Sam closed his hand around the patch, felt the threads bite into his skin like the echo of a promise. "Then that's what I'll do." Reese nodded. "Clay's safe house is 2 miles east, hidden behind old mining grounds. He keeps guards there, and weapons." Sam helped Reese steady himself. "Then we go together." Reese shook his head. "I can't ride, and you'll move faster alone." He met Sam's eyes. "But take one thing with you." Sam waited. Reese, our continua pointed at the canyon floor, at the dead pursuer. "Clay didn't send amateurs. He sent someone he trusted, someone he thought could kill you." Sam stared at the body. "He failed." Reese nodded. "But Clay won't stop. Not until you're gone." Sam mounted the damaged bike, testing the ignition. It sputtered but held. The engine growled angrily under his weight, unsteady but alive. Reese stepped back, clutching his ribs. "When you face Clay, don't look for the man he was. That man's dead." Sam revved the engine. Then I'll bury what's left." With dust swirling behind him and Marcus's patch clenched in his fist, Sam tore out of the canyon, heading straight toward the man who had broken the code. The road to Clay's safe house stretched out in front of Sam like a strip of shadow cutting through the desert. The night wind roared past him, carrying the weight of every mile he'd ever ridden away from the truth. With Marcus's worn patch clenched in his fist, Sam felt something settle inside him. Not anger, not vengeance, but clarity. A man doesn't return to where it all started unless he's ready to face what ended there. And tonight, Sam wasn't running anymore. The safe house lights appeared on the horizon, dim, scattered, guarded. Clay would be inside, surrounded by men who believed every lie he'd told. Sam slowed his bike as he approached the ridge, the engine rumbling beneath him like a heartbeat synced to the coming storm. He wasn't thinking about forgiveness. He wasn't thinking about the brotherhood Clay had broken. He was thinking about Marcus, about every truth buried under the ashes of loyalty, and about the promise he'd made to show up when it mattered, even if the road ended in fire. Sam stopped at the overlook, the safe house glowing faintly below. The wind pushed against him, as if warning him back. He didn't listen. Some debts can't be outrun. Some codes don't die quietly. And as Sam stepped off the bike, slipping the patch into his jacket, he understood exactly what the road had led him to. The final reckoning between the man he used to call brother and the man Clay had become.